Hi guys, welcome to this speed build video in the Sims 4. My name is Irene and today I am building my space rings. This is a sci-fi fantasy house fit for a Martian and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. I had so much fun with it. As you can see in the intro and on the thumbnail, I used a lot of rings and in that way I want to make this space build. So let's just dive right into this video. In this video I'll explain you how to make these rings. Like I said, it's a sci-fi build. Sci-fi, one of my science fiction, one of my favorite genres when it comes down to series and to movies like Star Wars. Yay, one of my favorite franchises ever. When I think about The Mandalorian, Baby Yoda, my heart gets warm and glowy. Matrix, definitely. I think one of the best movies ever made, the first Matrix though. But I started watching the X-Files again. Series started in 1992, 11 seasons and I am enjoying it so much. And in the X-Files you can see that much spaceships, alien planets, no alien planets at all. But that alien idea, science fiction idea, that's the thing that inspired me to do this build here. I started gathering inspiration on Pinterest and I came across this picture, and when I saw this picture I knew I wanted to do something with circles. I wanted to do something with red rocks like it was a build on Mars. So I was just ready to build it. I did a Star Wars build 6 months ago or something, maybe even longer, and I think it was one of my favorite builds I ever did. And yeah, I just had so much fun with this genre and with this kind of style of builds. But before I explain more about it, I wanted to explain you a bit about how I made these circles, and you can see it happening on your screen right now. I used, and I cut already a little bit in the video here, but I used a lot of these stone tables, accent tables. They have light strips in them and I used them because I wanted to make this build look cool during the night as well, because when you go to the night some of the rings will light up because I used these stone tables I was just talking about. And yeah, you can create circles just in the game. I will explain you a little bit about that later on in a way easier method, but they're not that big and I wanted to make bigger circles. So I placed a rock on the ground. You could see it a couple of seconds ago, that black thing. I removed it later, of course, because I used it as a template, and templates is actually the keyword for this build. You want to use templates if you want to make shapes like this, if you want to make circles with small objects. You have to place all these small objects next to each other, of course, to create that circle, and I think it's almost impossible to just freehand a circle like it, especially because you want to place all these small objects next to each other. You want to make them fit, you know, and you have to zoom in a lot to realize that. And when you zoom in a lot, you don't have an overview and you can just make a circle like it. So I used a round rock for it. I think it's the most easy way to go. You can see it over here again as well. Of course, I had to place these objects on something, so that's why I made this foundation underneath it now. Then I placed a rock on it, and you can see it, over here. I just removed the foundation. I just deleted the foundation. You don't want to drag your foundation in different sizes with your arrows, because then all the objects will be replaced again. So you just want to use your demolition thing. You can remove your foundation in that way, and when you do that you still have that line left that you just created. So that's the way to create these circles. And when you have one finished and you didn't remove that foundation yet, or a deck that you placed underneath it, you can just select that deck and you can copy it, and in that way you can copy all these small objects as well, and you can make a lot of circles way faster. So yeah, that's the way to create these bigger circles. As you can see, I use a lot of smaller circles as well. Over here I just placed some decks, and yeah, where the fences are, you can see them there. And to create these smaller circles, it's the easier method. You have to use these decks as well. You have these quarters of the decks, you know, in just the build menu. You want to combine these quarters together to create a circle, and then you can place a fence all around it. You want to use that auto place option, not just you can drag a fence on a line as well, but you want to use that auto place function. That way you can place a fence in a circle, and after that you can remove the deck or the circle that you just made, but the fence will still be there. So in that way you can create these circles, and of course now you know how to do it. You can use it in so many different ways in your builds, and I kind of went overboard with it here because I love that method so much and I thought it's a fantasy build, so why not? Now I'm creating this canyon. I wanted to give this build more dimension, more depth. Right now the canyon is kind of narrow. I will build it a little bit bigger later on, but it's of course the same method. I will do that off camera, but I use the same method like you can see over here, of course. When you want to create gaps like this in the ground, it's actually very easy to do. You can see over here that I used a basement tool. I just created a basement in an irregular shape. Then you want to select that basement, you want to go one level up, then you have the yellow line. Click on the yellow line all around the basement. Click on the yellow line, you can remove the roof in that way. And in that way, you can create canyons like this. And I thought in this way, it had way more depth. I placed a lot of chimneys at the very bottom of the basement, the lowest level, if you will. I placed a lot of chimneys there. Placed a fireplace on the sides, and when you lit that fireplace, you can create smoke in your canyon. So that's what I did here. I used a lot of these debug rocks. Of course, they came with the Strangerville pack because that's where I'm building this house in. Strangerville, kind of a forgotten world for me. Of course, when the pack came out over 1.5 years ago, it was kind of driven by gameplay. You had that storyline. I don't play the game that much, but I did its storyline. It was fun, but yeah, that was it. I thought it was cool that we had a totally different world, because of course we only had Oasis Springs until then, when it comes down to desert worlds, of course. So it was cool that we had a totally different world, but the lots weren't that big, and I usually build on huge lots, 64 by 64 or 50 by 50. So I kind of forgot about it. My very first video on my channel though, I built a plain house in this world in Strangerville. I just watched it again. Oh my god, cringe. And I did one other build here, a canyon house, but yeah, I never really built here again. But of course, when I had the picture and when I had that Mars idea in my mind, it was just the perfect world to pick for a Mars-inspired build with the red rocks and yeah, amazing. So I was so happy to build here. I'm building it on a 50 by 40 lot. That plane crash lot used to be here. And the light is so amazing here. Everything is so white and so bright, and the rocks look so cool with that orange glow. So yeah, I love building here, and 50 by 40 is kind of a big lot, so I think I'm going to build here more often. But especially for a Mars inspired build, it was yeah, the best world to go for. But I said I used a lot of these debug rocks. You can find them just when you use the double cheat, bb.show hidden objects, bb.show live edit objects. Of course, you gotta have the Strangerville pack to use them, but they're kind of glitchy. Yes, they're kind of glitchy. When you go to gameplay, some of the rocks disappear, especially on the ground. I think we have 10 kinds of different rocks that came with Strangerville in this color. the one that I used over here is not that glitchy. All the other rocks are extremely glitchy. You can place them in build mode, but as soon as you go to just live mode, they disappear. So the rock that I used here, a lot of the rocks are still visible when you go to live mode, but some of them disappear, especially in the canyon. But the most important rocks are still here. I placed the house inside the rock, as you can see, and I had the idea in my mind like it was kind of a crashed spaceship into the cliff here, and of course you can't see debris or anything like it, but that was the idea that I had in the back of my mind. If you saw my previous video, I did that dream house, that cliff house, and I talked about 2 methods to build on cliffs, and one of them was the one that I used in my previous video, that you want to build the house first and then the rocks underneath it later on. But for this house, it was way better to create the rocks first and after that just build the house in it, because then I knew where I wanted to place everything. So I used a different method. We're onto the interior already for a couple of minutes, and I wanted to incorporate these circles that you could see in the exterior in the interior as well. We're quite limited when it comes down to circle shapes in the game, so I combined a lot of items together to realize all these shapes. The couch I created from lounge chairs. They came with Discover University, and it's the most fitting chair if you want to make your own sofas, your custom-made sofas. Of course, for the kitchen, I placed it in a circle as well. Like I said, I wanted to incorporate these circles, a lot of globes everywhere. That's the reason why I picked some of the chairs and some of the items you could see in the bathroom upstairs as well. But I also placed a lot of rocks on the ground. You can see it over there. I didn't want to make them that obvious, so I made them white. But I sized them down and I sized them up and I placed them in this kind of shape. I wanted to make them look like crop circles. It was actually because I was watching the X-Files during recording and building this, and it was actually an episode about crop circles, and I thought, oh, that would be cool to incorporate that in the build. Like I said, I used white rocks because I didn't want to make it too obvious. Just place the piano there. Yeah, what do you need? Why do you need a piano when you're living on Mars? But I thought, why not? I thought it just looked cool when you took a look at the house from a distance. I used a template method. Yeah, you can see it over here as well. And yeah, that rock, for me, it was the best method to go for. And I used a pristine pedestal to create these round shapes on the decks everywhere. And yeah, I think we're almost at the end of this video. I'm very curious what you thought about it. What is your favorite genre when it comes down to movies and to series? Like I said, my favorite genre is sci-fi, but I love me a good fantasy series as well, like, of course, Game of Thrones, something like it. Yeah, and I'm very curious what you thought about this house, kind of strange house. Oh, before we close this off, I'm placing in some other rocks over here. They're a little bit more gray, and I thought they gave the entire canyon a little bit more depth. So that's why I'm placing them in over there. But yes, I was rounding up. Let me know what you thought about this house. If you have some requests for me to build, please let me know as well. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, it would be amazing. If you did, you would make me super happy. If you're watching this on a Friday, the day when I upload this, I hope you will have an amazing weekend. I already started on my next build. It will be coming next Tuesday, and I'm so excited to share that with you guys. So I can't wait to talk with you again next Tuesday. Like I said, I hope you will have an amazing day today. Let's go into the house tour, and well, goodbye.